Morning, my friends. Today, it's a nice snowy morning. Yesterday it was raining throughout most of the day. It was kind of annoying, actually. Um, it started off pretty, it was just raining the whole day. All the snow kind of washed away. It was just, especially when it's, 1 or 2 degrees and it's raining, it's definitely not fun. It's definitely not a pleasant sensation to be cold and wet at the same time. But now it looks like it's cooled down a bit, and now it's actually snowing. And ironically, that means that you can keep warmer outside. So today, I was actually inspired from a friend of mine to talk about a little something that we are all quite familiar with. I'm eating some raspberries that I have over here. They're a bit old. Some of them look like, quite a bit of them have some brown stuff on them. I don't know if I should eat them or not, but I am anyway. I was with a friend of mine and we were talking a little bit about video games. And it sort of inspired me to do a little talk about video games in particular, especially the concept of how they sort of embed in us this mindset of, finishing and completing tasks, right? He argued, or I didn't argue, but he made a statement that was got me thinking a little bit about how games sort of indoctrinate us to sort of be accustomed to working. And I don't think it's that concept. I don't think the games are doing that. I think that in reality, it's we as people already have an inclination to complete things or to do tasks, to do work. I mean, it's part of human nature just from the dawn of life itself. There's always this concept of needing to survive. And I think that's what video games sort of replicate in a confined sense, right? There's a sense that you start off and there's something you need to do, right? If you're surviving in the wilderness, in the forest, that could be you wake up at the beginning of the day and you're thinking, okay, I need to go out and hunt for some food today. That would be your objective, your task. That's like in the concept of life, the video game. That is your role as a human being. And it's to be able to do that. And then you do that. And then you either fail and starve and you lose the game, or you win and you get to play the next mission, which is the next day, which is probably doing the same thing, which is like a lot of video games are pretty repetitive. You play GTA 4, GTA 5, whatever. It's always like same kind of missions, especially GTA 4, which is kind of like a criticism that game had, where it was kind of like every sort of mission was sort of the same. You have to find someone, you get there, and then you have to do an annoying car chase, which is the standard game mechanic of that, the mission mechanic, I guess you would call, of that game. And it's the same thing with life. If you're surviving in the wilderness, you're going to have repetitive missions every day to find food, or sometimes you'll get a different mission and maybe there's a bear that's trying to hunt you down, or you're being chased by a pack of wolves or something random like that. These are all related to the human experience of needing to complete a task that is necessary for your survival at the basis sense. And then we can, after we move on from survival, we can go into other aspects, which involve finding a partner, right? Finding a mate to reciprocate, right? That becomes another task, especially with a lot of young men. That seems to be the big conquest, the big mission that they need to accomplish, is to have sex a lot of the time. Women, it might be a little bit different. I'm not a woman, so I can't really speak on their behalf. I know for men, the concept of acquiring sex is very much a mission objective, right? It's not even like the act of the pleasure more so than the act of just completing it. I know I've talked to some men myself, men that I don't necessarily relate with on the concept of dating and chasing after women, but it's like that to them, they don't enjoy the actual gratification of having sex. To them, it's about the chase, it's about the game. And I think that's replicated in the video games, so to speak, which is not necessarily to say the video games are making them feel that. It's life that's making them want to play video games, because video games makes it easy for you, right? It gives you what you need to do, right? In life, all you have is the objective. I need to get this, but it's not going to tell you how to do that. You have to come up with that yourself, which is a lot more difficult. Whereas in a video game, it's like, okay, go to this location and kill this person. Let's say you're playing Red Dead Redemption, right? It's very straightforward. You don't really have to think of a way to do that because the game is set up for you to do it. They try to give you a method of some free choice, but it's very limited in terms of what you can actually do, which I think is what also appeals to people, and also sort of might make them not like it. If it's too linear, it's too focused, then people are going to be bored because they can't be creative. And I think if it becomes too complex, it's not going to be as attractive for people, because it's it basically just mimics real life. And if it's mimicking real life, then why even play the game in the first place, right? But then you have things like like Second Life, for instance, like the MMORPG, which is not really popular in the mainstream. You look at mainstream popular games, we're talking like Call of Duty, Fortnite, Red Dead Redemption, GTA. These are not at the level as games that are more complex in terms of what you can do, which is like Second Life, which is kind of like, if you look at like the depth of how much you can actually do, the deeper it goes, the less popular the game becomes. So like after you have COD and all that, you have like Dota and these strategy built games. Chess can be a part of that as well. They're relatively popular, they're known, but they're not mainstream. They're not average person who wants to pick up a game and play. The whole reason that people like to pick up a game and play it is because it's simple. You don't have to think about it too much. You're not thinking about it like you would be thinking about stuff in real life. And then as games get more and more complex, they sort of become more and more of a niche market, so to speak, which I think is interesting, as sort of like the more it sort of relates to reality, the less attractive it kind of becomes in a way. And that's when we get to things like Second Life and other versions of that kind of game, which people might play and start up like just for fun, just to see what it's like. But there's not many people who really get in depth into that game. We can say though, there are other games out there that are highly simplistic, and these are social media websites. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These are games. These are multiplayer RPGs, but it's reflective of your own life, right? You take what's happening in your life and you funnel it into this game. And how do you win this game? It's all about your social standing. It's all about how many likes you get. Likes are like points. That's the root of the game. It's Facebook is a video game, Twitter is a video game. The more retweets, the more likes you get, the more you win the game. The person with the highest score is the person with the most likes or the most views on YouTube, right? It becomes a game in that sense. It's not indicative of anything substantial. It doesn't equate to any kind of happiness or success, monetary success even. There's plenty of famous people online that are dead broke. They're poor, but they get a lot of likes on Twitter. They get a lot of views on YouTube, and they might not necessarily get that much money, even if they might have their videos monetized, right? It doesn't equate happiness. So it's a simulation of reality, so to speak. It's a video game in that sense, which I find is very interesting if you want to think of it like that, right? We're all sort of fighting to get as many points as we can. So anyway, something to think about, and that's all I really have to say about that. And I hope you have a wonderful day.